Hey guys, Dave Toku here. In today's video, I wanted to briefly talk about Kamen Rider Zi episode 46, so let's get started. So the episode starts us off when White was revived due to Gates being captured by the Another World. This leads to the team kind of talking about how to free Gates. Woz gives a suggestion that Decade and Yen may be able to travel to that world, but they may offer no assistance. And Soul kind of tells them that the person trapped inside the Another World can't be freed unless it's destroyed, which gives them more of a problem. And Tsukimi kind of tells him that it's her fault that Gates was captured, but Aqua kind of tells her that it's his fault because he doesn't have enough courage. This kind of leads to Suga's uncle coming in with kind of snacks or food and telling them about white truffles, and this eventually leads to them meeting with White Woz, where we actually saw him last, where he actually disappeared when he was with Black Woz. This leads to them trying to ask for his help to save Gates, but he kind of tells them that they expect him to settle down and listen, and they immediately pull out their belts trying to threaten him. But White Woz still has his belt, so it doesn't really work. But White Woz kind of just says that he'll listen because he wants to save his savior. Then we see that White Woz starts riding on his tablet, that Miharu goes off to fight against Eternal. Next we do see that Schwartz does make another Dark Rider from the person we saw during the Another Den-O episode. And the Dark Rider that he does summon is Kamen Rider Den-O Skull form. And if I do remember correctly, he appeared in a movie as a movie exclusive villain, like most of these Dark Riders are. And we do see during the fight with Eternal that Zio appears to help, as well as White Woz does appear to fight. Then we do see during the fight with Eternal that Zio appears to assist him. And then we see White Woz and Black Woz fight. And I really did think this fight was gonna be dragging or gonna drag a bit. But it's actually fairly quick because both of them immediately go to Rider Kick after landing a few punches. And we do see that White Woz is beaten here, but it's revealed that White Woz is actually planning this, and that Black Woz has to make it convincing that he actually beat White Woz so that their plan won't be revealed. And then we do actually see White Woz actually use the portal where he was summoned from to teleport both Woz and Tsukuyomi to the Another World where Gates is. And we do see what is the Another World of Gates, in that it's the lost possibility of his conversation where Zio actually runs off. And in this scene we do see a different version of that conversation with Gates kind of telling Zio about how he become Omazio and make a sinister future. But I fled from that future and came back to this time. Although he knows he has to go back, he wants to continue living in this era and create a new future with Zio. And this conversation actually keeps repeating itself, with Woz and Tsukuyomi knowing of what Gates would have said to Zio if he hadn't run off, and this kind of leads to Zio and Eternal fighting. And Zio is kind of smart, and he kind of dons the W armor to fight against Eternal, although the fight kind of shifts to Zio, but Eternal immediately powers up with the memories and actually does a very powerful Rider Kick at Zio. But Zio manages to tank it and activate the Zio Trinity Ride Watch, and we get to learn this is part of White Woz's plan, in that Zio actually has to withstand the Rider Kick from Eternal's maximum drive and activate the Zio Trinity Ride Watch, where we actually see it actually affect both Gates and Woz in the Another World where they're turned into the Watches. And later we learn of what Eternal's part in this plan is, in that Eternal has the power to destroy worlds or two for an eternity, but to do so he has to bring Eternal with him to the Another World, which is the part of the Zio Trinity Ride Watch, in that Zio kind of tells Woz, or White Woz I should say, about how the Zio Trinity Ride Watch can draw Woz and Gates to him, but he doesn't know if that power can actually transcend worlds or teleport him and Eternal to the Another World, and we do see that it does. And in the Another World, he transforms into Zio Trinity with the powers of both Gates and Woz, and actually manages to deflect the Rider Kick at the Another World, destroying it in the process. And we do see that they're all freed, and we do see most of the Dark Riders actually disappear. And with Eternal, I kind of feel kind of bad for him, in that Zio actually took advantage of his ability, and Eternal doesn't mind, because in the process it kind of destroyed a world where he was revived but not his comrades, in that now he'll be able to go with his comrades. Because thanks to him he was able to destroy a world where he was the only one that was revived, but now he can go where his comrades are. And he kind of disappears, and in the process he gives a thumbs up to Zio, and actually smiles at the last moment when he's disappearing. And we do see from behind, we do see White Woz, and Black Woz kind of says to him that why would he create a plan that would make him disappear, and in that he only wanted to save his savior, and that was his lost possibility. And in the last moments he kind of tells them about Schwartz's plan or what he's aiming towards. But before he can actually finish, Schwartz actually blasts him, making him fully disappear. This eventually leads to both Gates and was going after the rest of the Dark Riders that didn't disappear. And these are the original four that we initially saw with Schwartz. And this leaves both Sogo and Schwartz alone. And Sogo's not really alone, and Ako comes in and tries to attack, but gets stopped by Schwartz, and Sogo gets stopped by Hora. So earlier in the episode, we get to learn of the reason why did Hora actually killed Is that she wanted her powers back from Schwartz, and she does. And when Schwartz approaches Sogo and says that you were really born to be king, your duty is to become king and save the world from annihilation. This makes Sogo realize something, and that the man that told him that very same line that inspired him to become king or want to become king are the same person. Sogo questions why would you do that, and Schwartz kind of answers him with this. You've collected quite a lot of rider powers. Now I'll be taking them off your hands so that I may become king. And this is where we learn that his main objective was to get the powers of the different riders from Sogo. Directly after saying that line, Schwartz gets stopped by Hora, who's actually there to try to kill Schwartz but actually fails because a portal actually opens where she actually stabs Schwartz the same way she stabbed but it fails because a portal actually appears where she stabbed him, and that very same portal actually wraps around Hora, trapping her and freeing Schwartz and making him transform into another decade. Then with another decade's power, actually Ryder kicks Hora away, killing her in the process. And I think she does in this scene, and this kind of leads to Grand fighting against another decade. And prior to this fight scene with Grand another decade, Zio actually tells Schwartz something, and that you're not fit to become king, but Schwartz objects by saying that you believe so. I do have the power to rule. Sogo tells him that a king makes the world a better place, and he also goes on to state that that's what power is for and transforms. Now we do see in another fight scene with both Gates and Waz that they do manage to beat the rest of the Dark Riders. Later on, we do see a conversation between Gates and Sukumi about how Gates wants to stay in this time period and how that they belong in this time period. And Sukumi actually agrees with him, and Gates also thanks Waz for his help. And Waz kind of tells him that the other enemy would have loved to hear that. And this kind of leads into what White Waz was saying about what Schwartz was targeting. And Sukumi kind of questions of the reason why didn't Schwartz get her powers before, in that we could see that Schwartz has the ability to do it, and why didn't he do it before? And Gates also says that he also attacked his own timejackers, and was adds that why did he also create all those another worlds? And he just says that his actions are kind of random, and Gates kind of says that what if they aren't? What if there's something connecting them all? And Waz kind of adds that Schwartz was attacking people related to Sogo and even Gates. And Tsukumi realizes something in that Schwartz waited until Sogo obtained the power of Grand Zi before starting. And Gates kind of says that Schwartz was after one thing, and that is Zio. This kind of leads to both Grand Zio and another decade fighting, that if Schwartz is defeated, his time axis will no longer exist. In the process, if Schwartz is defeated, Tsukuyomi will disappear, and this kind of leads him to say that both Grand Zio and Schwartz cannot coexist. In that meaning, Zio and Tsukuyomi cannot stand side by side. And this kind of leads to Schwartz kind of saying something else, and that there's only one way left, and Sogo demands the answer, but Aqua appears preparing to rider kick Schwartz, and he kind of fails because he gets warped alongside Schwartz, and in the process, Schwartz actually rider kicks Aqua, knocking Granzio away, deactivating his transformation, and killing Aqua. And we do see when Aqua is beaten, rain starts pouring, and we do see when Sogo goes to Miharu that Schwartz kind of reveals something, and that Sogo only has three paths to choose: the path of Tsukuyomi, a path for himself, and the path of Omazio. And the episode kind of ends there. And I'm really excited for the next episode because of one reason, and I'll cover that reason tomorrow if I can. So I think that's all I gotta talk about in this video, so thank you guys for watching.